Good morning, Pankaj. Good morning, Bharath. Good morning, Nitish.
Good morning. Hey, Bharath. Good morning.
Morning, sir. How are you?
Sir, can you have with you on so that guys can see what a handsome guy this is?
Yeah. I'm just getting the background right. Yep.
Hey, Bharath. Hi. Good to see you.
Hello.
Hi. So just wait a minute because I think suddenly there was no power in the school, so they had to repair something. So I think they've got it back. So Bharat, but great to have a look with meet you online, the virtual world.
Yeah, this is the best we can do these days, unfortunately.
Anyway, just a minute. See, Ankit, I see.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, both, sir.
Yeah, Fena, you can switch. Everybody, yeah. Morning, Fena. Morning, Richa.
Good morning, Pankaj. Good morning, sir.
Morning. Yep. Morning, Fena. I hope the school's treating you well. Okay. So, Saloni. Yes, I see Saloni. Where's Umang?
Yep. He might be joining, trying to join.
So, Bharat, meanwhile, you could start from your screen. Who all do you see? I think they can introduce themselves. You know me? Get me?
Yeah, I know you very well. So
First one.
I can see Ankit, who's my most recent LinkedIn connect.
Yes, sir.
Introduce yourselves, please.
And I see Nitish, I see Richa, I see Saloni, I see Divya, I see Umang.
Okay, great. So pretty much everybody. So,
Umang is also here.
Ankit, quick, 2 minutes.
Yes.
Introduction to yourself.
My name is Ankit Sharma. I am currently teaching computer science here in Plenum School. Earlier, I was teaching as an assistant professor in an engineering college, and I am highly, you can say, fascinated by gadgets and technology. So, yeah, that's all.
Okay. So next goes Nitish.
Good morning, sir. I'm Nitish Tiwari as a Hindi teacher in the Plenum School now. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Divya. Hello, Divya. Unmute, please.
Hello, myself Divya Rathi, and I am the biology faculty in the Plenum School.
Okay. Yeah, Richa. Thank you. Richa, you go next.
Hello, sir. Good morning. I'm Richa. I'm from Rajasthan, currently teaching English and Social Studies here in Plenum School.
Okay, Fena. Unmute.
Hello, sir. I'm Fena. I'm from chemistry faculty in Plenum School.
Okay, then I see Saloni. Where are you? Okay.
Unmute yourself.
Yeah, Saloni, unmute please.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so hi everyone. So I am Saloni Jakhar and I am from Delhi. I am currently teaching studies here in the Plenum School.
And Umang.
Hello, sir. Good morning. My name is Umang Danal. I am from Darjeeling. I have been with the Plenum since 2018 when we started the school, and I am the current principal of the school.
Sakshi.
I teach.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so I teach art and design as a subject, global perspectives, and English as a second language for the foreign candidates.
Okay, Sakshi. Do I see you there? Is Sakshi? Is Sakshi joined?
She's not able to join. She's here, but there's some problem with the phone issue. She's trying to sort it out.
Okay, so she can join with you or somebody. Okay, so guys, we are so glad that Bharath is here. Bharath is a very senior leader in the industry. And if there's one person you can blame for setting up the Plenum School, it is Bharath. As my boss at DSM, he gave me the freedom to go and chase my dream. So Bharath is a wonderful leader. He's a very sharp wit, got a great sense of humor. He's based in Bangalore. He heads this company. I've already shared his background with you. but he is somebody who combines real leadership with, people assume leadership is all about being a dog. No. Bharath is as kind a human being as you will find, but he's as tough as a professional. He gets the job done as well. So Bharath, I won't talk much. So thank you so much for agreeing to join us and talk to the teachers. The entire idea about this interaction is, my sense was that, teachers in India need an exposure, and teachers are somebody who's going to build the next wave of leaders from our students. But we don't train our teachers enough. So my sense is I want to get business leaders, political leaders, leaders from the economics and arts, people from the civil services, people from the social sector, so academicians to come and talk to us, so that all of us together gain by the perspectives that you share with us, so that we get a great bunch of teachers, so that we can build up a wonderful school. So with that, I hand over to Bharath. I'll go on mute now. Bharath, want to talk to us?
Yeah, no, so absolutely. Thanks, Pankaj. And one thing you did not say when you were introducing me with all these very kind words is I'm a good friend of yours. And that's one thing also equally proud of amongst all other things.
Thank you.
But absolute pleasure and honor to be here. I was thinking to myself this morning, this is the first time I'm interacting with teachers where I don't have anything to do with marks or behavior or report cards or anything like this. So that in itself has given me the freedom to think more than those pieces of paper allow you to. And Pankaj had asked me when we spoke earlier this week to talk about leadership. And actually, and I'm not saying this to be humble, but I'm saying this as a fact that it's very difficult to talk about leadership because it's so personal. And it is something that you keep to yourself, you experience it yourself. It's very subjective. But I do want to share with you some things that have worked for me in life. And I'm not sticking to only organizations or business. I'm just talking overall, right? What's worked for me? And I'm trying to bring in some angle which would be relevant for you. One of the things that I have really liked doing is to read a lot of books. And that just makes it easier for me to understand and appreciate what happens around the world. So I'm going to share some things that I learned from those various expeditions I took with the written words. And share with you, and hopefully we'll have some chance to share thoughts together. So I'm not going to talk for 40 minutes or 30 minutes, very brief, and then hopefully we'll have some time to exchange thoughts. So I want to start with sharing with you a quote, and I have it in front of me, so I'm going to read it off what I see here, which I came across, unfortunately, too late in my career. I should have seen this much earlier, but I came across, and for me that encapsulates in a few words what leadership truly should be. What it is different, what it should be. So I'm going to read this and I'll tell you who wrote this and context and some of you know about it. So the quote goes like this, right? If you want to build a ship, don't drum up people to collect wood, and don't assign them tasks and work, but rather teach them to long for the endless and vast sea. So I'll say it again. It's a very powerful quote if you were to analyze it, but I'll say it again. If you want to build a ship, don't drum up people to collect wood. Don't assign them tasks and work. Rather, teach them to long for the endless vast sea. Right? This quote is by a gentleman called Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. He's a French guy. 1900 was when he was born. Unfortunately, he was killed in an air battle. He was an aviator with the Nazis in 1944. He's written an amazing book called Little Prince. It's a wonderful book. It's a 130-page book. It was in French originally, and then it was translated.
What book is this? Sorry, what book?
It's called The Little Prince. Read the book. I mean, it's a book that teaches you about life, and the guy is very profound in what he writes. And it's a very nice book. It's a children's book, actually. It's about a kid who goes and explores planets, including Earth. And then he talks philosophy and he talks leadership. So it's a fantastic book. I came across this only a year and a half, 2 years ago. And for me, this encapsulates in its quote the most powerful thing a leader can do. often mistake, and I use this quote also in relevant to our interaction because it talks about teach them, right? Teach them to long for the vast, endless sea, right? And just remember this quote, and I'm going to talk to you about three most powerful words that dictate life, organizations, teaching, students, teachers, anything you can think of. My life has been built on these three words, right? And these three words are why, what, and how. Life is very simple, right? Be it you're teaching your students, running an organization, doing whatever you're doing, it's essentially going to boil down to these three things. And I'll expand on this a little bit. Why? The purpose of existence, the purpose of teaching, the purpose of having a school, the purpose of being a student. That dictates pretty much the rest of everything else you do. You all have your own stories. Why did you come to teach? Why did you come to teach in a very beautiful, nevertheless faraway place? Why did you not choose another option? That why encapsulates the purpose of existence for each individual, for an organization. And Pankaj, when we started talking about his, he was very passionate about it, but he has a life story that is very powerful, right? How he grew up, what influenced him, and that defined his why. And the reason that he went through all the troubles that he went through, and I know some of those because he was going through that phase when we used to talk a little bit more often than we do now. I know what troubles he went through. It takes a special amount of energy to overcome that. And I'm not talking physical energy. Physical energy is easiest. We're talking about mental energy, emotional energy. That's the most difficult thing that anyone can be confronted with. And the reason that he was, and I'm bringing this as an example to you, not because Pankaj is here and he's basically someone that you all know, is because it's a very inspiring story. And there are many such stories all of you may have. Right? The purpose is very, very important. Why do you teach? Why didn't you go to the bank? Why didn't you join a government job? Why do you teach? Right? And the same question is true for your students. It's true for everyone. And those days are over. For example, when I grew up, I was very fortunate and blessed with parents who told me, go do what you want to do. I have so many friends of mine who studied to be a doctor because their dad was a doctor, who wanted to be an engineer because that's what they said was the right thing to do. We never, as parents, teachers, people in society, ever gave the room for kids to understand their purpose of life. It's very difficult for a 10-year-old to articulate it, but it is much easier if you guide them in that topic too, for a 17 or a 16-year-old to understand it. What is your purpose in 16 may change when you're 26, but you will never regret that 10-year journey. So the why is very, very important. Once you have the purpose of your existence, your teachers, your students have their purpose, they figure out what they want to do. It's not because your dad's a doctor, your mom's whatever. It is not that. It's very easy to do, right? It's about the purpose. Then comes the what. For example, right? Then comes the what. How can I serve people, right? What are the various things I can do to serve people? I could be a teacher, I could be a politician, I could be a doctor, I could be whatever. That comes next, right? And then comes the how. So the what is easier to do. Once you define the why, the what is easier because then you've limited the options. And then comes the how. How will I do it? Oh, I have to study well. I have to go to, medical school or engineering college or a teacher's college or a training for this. That's the easiest, right? But see how we think. We always think why last. How, what, why. This is how we think. And this is how we've been trained to think. When you're young, if you reflect, I reflect when I was young, right? How was I trained to think? How, what, how? I don't know how, but I have to get high marks. So how do I get high marks? I study for 20 hours a day by rote. What does that high marks lead to? If I want to be an artist, is it of any use to me? What's my purpose of life? My purpose of life is to be creative. My purpose of life is to give joy to others with my creativity. Why should I have to study for 20 hours a day? Math. Yes, I have to do it to survive, maybe. That's fine. At least then you've made peace with it and you've gone on with life, saying that I can't be an artist till I secure my home. So I will study and I'll learn something, but eventually my purpose is to be creative and to bring joy to others with my creativity. So our thinking training has always been how, what, why, how, what, why, right? And we discover why when we're 55, 60, 45, 50, and we think about the fact that our lives have been wasted. Why do you think there is so much of middle-age crisis. And there is actually a psychological study that was done in the West. By the way, there is now an argument about this whole midlife crisis, whether it's real or not real. Leaving that aside, why does midlife crisis happen? When you're 45, 50, you think back and you say, I wasted 20 years of my life. Right? I've been lived for my family. I've lived for something that I did not believe in. I've made money in an organization which I don't like. Now I'm thinking about the fact that, I'm 45, 50, and I've wasted 20, 25 years of my life. That's where midlife crisis comes from. And that's because we are trained to think how, what, why. My request to you as people who are shaping the future of many students is please don't reverse the thinking process. Allow your students to be in the way they want to be. And I'm not talking Three Idiots, that's different. And that's a movie that talks about why, what, how. If you really look at the movie, what does that movie essentially say? You think about it, now go back and watch that movie and see what is the message of that. The message of that movie is allow people to discover their purpose, correct? Which is probably why it made 350 crores or whatever it made in India. So that's one thing that I want to leave with you. Always, please, for yourself, first be clear about it and allow your students, allow the people that you interact with in life to breathe the why. Think about the why. It's not natural. We're not trained to think like that. No society is trained to think like that, by the way. It is not India that I'm talking about. The only society which kind of starts thinking along those lines is Japanese society. So if you've heard of this concept called Ikigai, which is a very powerful Japanese concept, and you can Google it and you'll find a very nice diagram that talks about Ikigai. Ikigai is the sole essence, one-page summary if you want to know about the why, what, how. So look at it after we finish. This is one thing I want to leave with you. Second thing I want to leave with you is maybe you guys have heard of this this phrase called Pygmalion Effect. And this Pygmalion Effect is something, if you have, great. If not, just bear with me. If you have, bear with me. If not, just I'll try and explain it to you in simple words. So what happened is there was this theory that came in the 70s, 60s, 70s in the States that said potential of people are better exposed when you give them attention, not just from an attention that, do your homework and sit over their shoulder, but attention in terms of believing in them. And that led to an experiment. Actually, this was an experiment that was done in this. They picked a random student cohort of 30, 40 students in a class. They made sure that their grades were the same, average, right? So some of them smart, some of them not so good on the grades, but overall it was an average. And what they did is they told the teachers that these 20 students or this 40, you pay particular attention to them and you make them believe that they are very smart, they're very good, they do good work, right? The other 20 don't ignore, but don't do anything special. So you understood the experiment. 20 students, you give them the belief, you give them the view that you're very good. You do it to your students, I'm sure. There are a couple of students you really like, right? You'll spend more time with them. It's natural, it's human affinity. The student who usually submits the homework the first is coming across as very smart, talks to you well, you spend a little bit more time. It's very subtle. You don't do it purposely. You don't do it because you favor someone. You do it. It's very subtle. So what they said is do it for these 20. Don't do it for the other 20. Now, what they found out at the end of the year was these 20 students who were typically average grade all did 10 to 20% better than the previous year. And the other 20, there was no change. It was similar to the previous year. So what does this tell us, this Pygmalion experiment? This is actually an experiment. You can Google, you can read about it. I think it was done in New York. It tells us that we react to attention, which is positive. Now, I'm going to be a bit critical of how teachers are in India come across, right? The teachers in India come across as, I'm very, very good with you. I'm very, very bad with you. There is no even middle ground. So there is and I'm not saying you, all of you I'm sure are great. I'm just saying what I have come across. There are people that we really, really like as teachers, and we give them a lot of attention. There are people that, whatever, right, good, bad, ugly, we ignore them. There's people who we really, really think are naughty, don't do work, are careless, and we give them also attention, but the other kind. What it comes eventually to is that it gives you stress because you're dealing with various things. It doesn't allow the students to fulfill their potential. So my only request to you is, if you believe in students, students will do very well. Positive belief, positive reinforcement. And Pankaj made this observation about me, and I'm very grateful he did. I hope I'm exhibiting a lot of what he said, but it is not about being kind, harsh, unkind. It's about being firm and kind, firm and kind. If someone doesn't do work, you don't have to be harsh, you can be firm. If someone doesn't do work, you don't have to ignore, you can be firm. And there is a difference, and it's an art, right? It's not science. You cannot say that I program myself from tomorrow, I'm going to do that. But unless you start thinking along those lines, again, it won't work. So, for me, again, just to summarize, I want to, again, talk about the fact that for me, the quote that I read out from Antoine Saint-Exupéry is, for me, the essence of what life is about. It's about teaching people to yearn for something. And then I talked about the why, what, how, right? And how we always think in the reverse. We always think how, what, why. Let's start thinking about why, what, how. And then I talked about the Pygmalion Experiment, which is in many ways what essentially is your ability to influence future people, citizens of the world. That's all I have to say. Pankaj, I don't know whether I took too more time, but I unfortunately don't have much more to say, but I would love to hear and exchange thoughts for the next few minutes that we have together.
No, great. Two things, Bharath. One, I've also requested Manisha. Manisha is my wife, if you've forgotten. So Manisha has also joined us. So she is based in Bombay currently. So I know she would also love to hear what you have to say. So Manisha has also joined us. But also, Bharath, talk to us about leadership. What do you think about leaders are? What have you seen leaders? And also through your journey as a student, let's say you went to Vanderbilt, you studied in India, your son studies in a very good school. So what have you seen, one, about education, your own education? What great things did you see in Vanderbilt? And also about leadership.
So let me talk about education because it's the easier one for me. Because I had the fortune of studying here, and then I did a master's back in the States. So I saw the contrast. I didn't hear about it, but I saw the contrast, and it's not fair to compare because I did schooling and bachelor's here, and then I did master's there. I did also a master's here, but I have master's there. But having said that, right, the approach I saw in the teaching is stark, and it's a lot to do with teaching you what to think to teaching you how to think. Again, the what, how comes, right? And the US, when I studied in the States, right, a lot of the process of teaching was about how to think, right? And that's about multiple assignments, case studies, group discussions. So there is a lot of social interaction. In India, I don't know whether things have changed. Also, my son studies in an international school now, so I see they do it, and he does an IB, course. And they do it, right? He does a lot of work at home with friends and his own research and things like this. And I think that's very powerful. And unfortunately, through my growing years in school, the only time I had fellow students who we actually talked to was during tuition. Otherwise, you're pretty much on your own, right? And what do they say? Education is in these. What do you pick up at this age when you're in school? You pick up social skills. And the only social skills you pick up is when you kind of spirit away a secret bad habit that you have with a friend near the small shop near your house. Otherwise, you're playing cricket together. But is there a process of education, questioning, interacting on growing each other as kids? We don't encourage that. We don't set the environment for that in typical Indians. And I'm, again, not commenting about the present company. So I think that's one big difference I saw. What to think to how to think. It's very easy to do the what to think because it's about a textbook, write it on the blackboard, people go back and by rote come back and repeat, right? That's the easiest way to teach, because by virtue of the fact that you've done it for so long, you can do it like this. The how to think is the most difficult way to teach. So I think that's one big contrast I saw in the education systems that we have. And I mean, there is a reason why there are so many let's say top class innovations that come out of the States. There is a reason why there are so many high quality colleges and schools in the States. And that's because the process of education is taught like that. And I hate to say that it's because they're smarter, because they're not. I think it's because they are more open than we are. We are a bit more closed as a society. And I'm not being critical, it's just a fact, right? It's changing, and it is changing. But so I think that's one big contrast. The second thing that I saw in the education, I'll come to leadership in a minute. The second thing that I saw in education contrast is self-learning versus rote learning. And again, it goes back to the how-what conundrum, but the encouragement on self-learning also challenges teachers, right? Because then you're reading inputs that are not some things that you have a key for. I don't know, when I grew up, I think there was this guy called Imbibe or something, right? That's what he used to say. And my friend used to always say, this question didn't come last year, it won't come this year. This question came last year, so this won't come this year. So he never studied it at all. That was the end result of it. But you have sure short question, triple sure short question. You have all these guides, right? I never saw one in my years of studying in AS. Never one. There's no guide. There is no sure short question. There is no triple sure short question. So I think that's the second thing, right? How you learn is through your own motivation. And when you do that, your thirst for learning doesn't stop when your school ends, right? Why is there a relief when students leave school? Have you thought about it? I mean, I always wonder, why is there a relief when students leave school? I don't know about you, but in my school, I think 80% of my classmates were so happy school was over. Why should they be happy when school's over? And I say school's over, meaning you finish your 12th grade. Because learning was such a pain that it was almost like a relief. I'm done, right? No more school. So I think that's really wrong. I mean, something's wrong. If you feel happy when you leave school, there's something wrong. So I think those are some of the things that I see that, I hope with all the efforts that are on currently to solicit input from multiple stakeholders, and I'm not going to make any comments on the NEP or whatever that may be, but I'm saying the direction that we need to take is that, because that's where you get your best citizens. You very seldom, and I'm just last point on this and I'll go to leadership, you will very seldom find people who are behaving in a way that is detrimental to society. Maybe there is 9.1% of those people will have actually good education. Because education instills in you more than just knowledge. It instills in you hopefully values, it instills in you other things, make you aware. I'm not saying it's perfect. That's fine. Then coming to leadership. For me, the one thing that I really find stunning is that we hold people who seem to think that I have the answers being the ones that are true leaders. That's absolute BS. That's absolute nonsense. If you have all the answers, then you should probably not be off this earth, because no one has all the answers, by the way. So the first thing for a leader is humility, the ability to say that I don't know, right? And I say this openly in my organization. I always tell in my organization, I can't do as good a job in selling products as my sales team can. I can't do as good a job of making products as my production team can. I can't count numbers like my finance team can. I can't do stuff in the computers like my IT team can. And I'm very open, I say it to them. What can I do? I can make sure they reach their potential. So leadership is about this recognition of the fact that you are not expected. And this is again a big challenge in India and China. In India and China, we equate a role of being head of something as being a role where you're all knowing, all wisdom, all knowledge, and that comes from the past, right? We come from the whole Gurukul concept, where the guru is supposed to be the fountainhead of wisdom and knowledge, right? And they were very, very good like that, maybe in those times. Today, it is not possible. It is not feasible. And I can ask any one of you, can you tell me with confidence that you will know everything in your subject? You can't. It's impossible, right? If someone says that, they're lying, right? And I'm not talking about teachers, I'm talking about leaders. And so for me, the first thing that, if you want to spot a good leader, spot him or her by what they say about things they don't know. Not what they say about things they know. That's for me the first sign of a good leader. Have the humility to accept, I don't know. The second thing is, and the other big quote that you've had is, leaders will always lead from the front. It is absolute nonsense, right? You lead from the front when times are tough. You lead from the middle when times are normal. You have to make sure everyone comes along. I did not say lead from behind, right? Because there are people lost in the middle if you lead from behind. And the middle ones often dictate what happens, good or bad. So you always lead from the middle when times are normal. When COVID happened, you have to lead from the front. You have to set an example. You have to wear a mask if you're in the organization. you have to make sure that you take care of people. You have to be calling people who've got family members affected by Delta or in hospitals to make sure they get what they want. That's leading from the front, right? Hopefully the COVID will go away. And that time, if you still say that I'm going to set the direction, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, then you're missing a trick. Then you go to the middle, allow others to be. Make sure everyone comes along. Be the one that's cementing the two groups, the group that's leading ahead and the group that's still falling behind. Make sure you cement them. For me, this is the second thing I look for in leading. It's someone who is able to see this points of time where they need to move from the front to the middle, middle to the front. And it's no science to it. There is no books that will tell you about this. There is no logic to it. It's a gut feel, it's an intuition. And the last part of how you get that intuition is when you connect with people. And people are smart. They sniff out fakes in 2 minutes. So if you're not genuine, if you're not empathetic, people will not follow you. They may follow you because you sign their paychecks, but they will not follow you for any other reason. Right? So for me, these are the three things I look for, right? The ability to be, the humility to say, I don't know. The ability to seek the opportunity to lead from the front and have the maturity to lead from the middle. And the last one is be empathetic and connect with people. I can say very proudly through my career that all the people that have worked with me directly, I know their families. I know who's in their family, I know what's happening. It's because I really want to. Because at the end of the day, all of us are human beings and we thrive on social.
Secondly, I think, Bharath, thanks so much for your inputs. I'm sure they're valuable to all of us and we'll take our own, wisdom out of this. But I forgot to tell you in the beginning, we are recording this session just to help us understand better later on, and we might use this. So I hope no copyrights or this thing. So thanks so much.
If this goes viral, pay me royalty.
It will go viral, of course. And now, Bharath, I'll request you can ask whosoever you see line-wise who appear on your screen, if they have something to ask, say, comment, whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm more than happy to engage in a discussion. Love to hear from any of you, right? If you have any thoughts to share, anything to ask, I can say better.
We'll open the floor with you. I see you first.
Yeah. So my question to you is, you've been part of different companies and currently you are working as Solaris, I guess. Yeah, Solara. So basically, during your course of being a CEO and vice president and president of these all companies, what challenges have you faced with the people who are working along with you? I won't say under you, but along with you, and how you cope up with them being a CEO?
So, I mean, I wish I can have a very good answer to that. That's more, I think people who work with me will probably be the ones that will be able to answer that better, but I'm not trying to evade the question. See, one of the things that I've tried to do and I won't be successful, is try to imbibe in the people that have worked with me that it's more important to be a good human than a good employee. And if you have to trade off between the two, always be a good human. And so that's one thing that I've tried to inculcate in people that have worked with me, and inculcate is a strong word. So let me say, try to share with people that have worked with me, because your rapport relationship or friendship or whatever you want to call with a co-employee should not be because you both share the same business cards. That's too transactional. And I hope to have kind of had that open type of an engagement with the people that have worked with me about being a good human being, rather than trying to say that, the company pays me, some things have to be a good employee. And in life, you always have these contradictions, right? You want to be a good human being, but something the company asks you to do that is not allowing you to be, you have to live with it. I'm not saying it's going to be 100%. So that's one thing that I've tried to say, that, let's not equate our humanity to a paycheck, to a company name, to a title. human beings are broader, bigger than that, and humanity is always going to be bigger than that.
And also, what similarities did you find while working all in those different companies? Was anything similar in all the diverse backgrounds that you have been into?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think 90% of the people want to do the right thing the right way. It's often that the organization, the leadership, whatever words we want to use, that make that difficult. So 90% of the people that I worked with want to do the right thing the right way.
Thank you. If I have another question, I'll ask.
If I could start here, Bharath, I'll ask supplementary questions to the main question. Bharath, how do you deal with a recalcitrant employee? How do you deal with somebody who you think is a bad hiring?
Be human and allow that person to discover their right fit. Do it sooner than later. Do it with humanity. The first thing you do is never tell the person that they are not good enough. Maybe the company is not good enough for them. So don't make it personal. But once you've made that conclusion, don't delay. Good or bad, it's best for the person to find a place where they think is the best fit in the organization, to find a person who they think is the best fit. Don't allow mismatched relationships to prolong. Unfair and unethical and cruel for humanity and that human being.
Manisha, you can switch on your video, audio, and if you have any comments, and say hello to Bharath. After the last Diwali thing was in 2014 or 15, right? That is where Manisha must have met you. So Manisha.
Yeah. Hi. You're on mute.
Unmute. Manisha, unmute. Manisha, you are on mute. Hello?
Yeah, I asked her to unmute herself. But yeah, I think she's there.
Yeah, hi Bharath. Happy New
Hey.
Year to you. Very
You too.
thought-provoking. Yeah, very thought-provoking observations. I missed the initial part of your conversation, so I'll take the recording from the school team. That's all what I have to say at this stage.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Manisha. Stay safe.
So any questions, any observations, Manisha? So then we'll move on to others.
I think you must ask your team to raise questions because time would be limited. Yeah.
No, I have seen your name first, so I asked you. Any questions you have?
No, none. Thanks.
So then I see Saloni. You go next, please.
Yeah, so actually your discussion was very insightful. But one question from my side, that how to imbibe an open system? I mean, how this transition can take place from a closed system to an open system?
Yeah. So I was going to save this for the last. So wait with your question till the end, if you would, Saloni. It's not easy, and it's going to take a lot of effort and energy. But wait till the end. I'll give you, an example of something that I have heard, which is very profound, that talks about how to create change. You're talking about creating change and the trouble that comes with creating change. So I'll come to that towards the end.
Okay, but Bharath, Saloni is a business studies teacher. So if you have any other comments about business studies, let's say what you did in your MBA, or how she could, conduct a class or anything. And I think, Saloni, you should also separately, if you have, with your class, if you want to sometimes interact with Bharath over a topic that you find interesting. So anything
Yes.
So Divya ma'am, Umang,
So
and
we will
Nitesh
be
is in the-
interacting soon for class sessions.
Okay. So yeah, next,
DR ma'am,
Dia.
please unmute yourself.
Yes,
Please
sir.
introduce also who do you teach again, because Bharath would have
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Bharat. It was very, nice words and in the wisdom you have given us. I'm the biology teacher in the school, and my questions may not sound, like sort of high class business sort of, But that's a genuine. You were telling that, you know, when we people reach at around 40 to 50, at that time we realize that we have wasted around 20 years of our life doing something that we were not enjoying. Okay, so I have a question for you. Like, suppose if I'm doing something and I feel happy about it, I feel positive about it, do I still am going to feel the same way maybe after 20 years of my life, that I have not done something meaningful with my life?
No, you won't, of course. And that's see, some of us get it by fortune, some of us get it by thought. It doesn't matter. When you reach that stage in life and you look back, and it's biology. I mean, you're a biology teacher. It's biology. It's not science. It's not logic or rational. It's biology that we all like to look back. That's how we are trained, right? Because the way that we evolved as human beings is because we learned from the past. Otherwise, we'd all been killed by the saber-toothed tiger. Two people were killed and the third person said, oh, those two were killed when they went out of the cave, so we should not go out of the cave. So we always learn like that, right? So in the same way that you're talking about, biology makes us think. And if you have the fortune of saying that this is what I've wanted to do all my life, and typically you can find those people very easily. These are the people who are always smiling.
Okay. That means
These are people who don't have bad days. So
Okay.
those are the people, you know, they are the ones who give you energy, who are always chipper in a crowd, who are always full of energy, they're smiling. It's not that they don't have their bad days, but the overall theme around it is positive energy, etc. So if you're one of those, Divya, then you should be very happy. You know, you're a minority in India.
Okay. And I have one more question. You know, this is a very simple question and it comes every way, that motivate, like teachers, they have to motivate, and the employees, they have to motivate their employees. And yes, we have our ways to motivate the children, but can you add up that how can we make this motivation more efficient? Because at times we people also feel that it's not, you know, good enough to motivate our children to do something.
So it's motivation. So there are two types of efforts that everyone puts in. One is called the effort that you do because you're, so in an organization context, it will be the effort you do because you get money, right, from the organization. Similarly, in a school, it's the effort you do because you're in a school and you're expected to do certain things. But really, the true power is to extract what is called a discretionary effort, that extra 10%, the extra 20% that determines, you know, how successful a person is, student is, a teacher is, an organization is, whoever else. That discretionary effort, and again, this is research, it's not my gyan. Research says that discretionary effort comes when there is engagement to the purpose. So the best way to get people to put that discretionary effort, for example, right, and I'm giving you an example. Someone comes to study at Plenum because they want to take over their dad's business. Someone comes to study at Plenum because they want to go work for the United Nations and change the world. Someone comes to Plenum because they want to go to Africa and work with kids. Someone comes to Plenum because their parents sent them. Doesn't matter. What matters is you are able to have that discussion with your students, which says that what is the reason you're studying biology? What's the reason you're studying business studies? What is the reason you're doing this or Hindi or whatever else you're studying, right? And the answers you will get from them is because I'm asked to, because I'm bored, because I don't have an option. But the part of engaging with them and saying, how does this help you in the future? Making them always connect to the fact that, you know, this is not, don't look at it as homework, look at it as a way that you're learning for something for your future. What's in it for them? What's in it for them? That's the only thing that you can do for discretionary effort, right? The only way you get discretionary effort from anyone is if they are able to understand what's in it for them. So that's the big challenge, especially with students. Because they're very young for them to start thinking along these lines. So how you get that out is your genius of a teacher.
Okay.
Bharath, so Divya had read this book, Amichua's Battle with the Tiger Mom. So have you read this book? And
I've not read the book.
Sorry?
I've not read the book.
Okay. So I thought if you had, it would have been an interesting discussion on what you thought about it. Okay.
So
now
Umang goes next. He has raised his hand.
Hello, sir. My name is Umang again, and I've been the principal here. I actually would like to start off with the point, like I completely agree with your point of why, what, and how instead of how, what, and how, what, and why. And I think we are trying our level best everywhere here also. Secondly, sir, I have 4 sets of questions for you. So please allow me to ask these questions. Number one, I would like to start off with the fact that since you are a student and being a teacher, the very first question is like, what kind of a student were you in person?
Very quiet. So, no, I mean, so this is one of the things that I ask. I mean, we have a WhatsApp group of my classmates from school. I went to the same school. I had the fortune of going to the same school from 3rd grade till 12th grade. So I have a lot of lifelong friends from that time. They tell me I was quiet. I don't remember. The honest answer, I don't remember. But they tell me that I was quiet and usually did my work. I was never special, extraordinary, bad or good. Just normal, I guess. Never created trouble.
Okay, thank you, sir. So my second question was, what were the key factors that helped you to be what you are today? Though this particular part has been already answered by you in why, what, and how. Still, if you could put some lights on it.
Different experiences in life. I had the fortune of, I learned most, it's about learning yourself, about yourself. Right? I learned most about myself when I went through the various experiences in life. I left to study engineering from home, learned to live alone, learned to build bonds with friends, left the country in 1995, learned to cope with a totally different culture, different set of circumstances. So it's all life experiences that created the knowledge, if I want to use that word, to make me who I am. That's it, nothing. And of course, the most important role was the foundation here is the openness. We talked about it, right? The openness to welcome these experiences. I'm sorry to use this, but the first question anyone asks, and even now my colleagues, right? We go on business trips to Europe, we go on business trips to the US. The first question my colleagues ask me from India, the colleagues from India ask me, where is the nearest Indian restaurant? And I understand food is, I'm just making the point that, right? Unless you're open to experiences, my favorite cuisine is Ethiopian. I never knew there was an Ethiopian cuisine because my friends took me there, right? So, and all I'm trying to say is, unless we are open, and that openness I got taught in school. We were very conservative, small, I wouldn't say small school in Chennai, very conservative. We started with prayer, we did all the usual things that we would do, but they never closed our mind, always opened it. So,
sorry, in context to this question, what was the factor that, you made you feel that it was not a close thing? I think, sir, hello?
No, go ahead.
Bharath, may I interject here? I think you're also a vegetarian, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it?
I am not exactly.
Imagine when Bharath is talking about Ethiopian cuisine, most of us mistake just because we're vegetarian, we don't have to be outgoing, we don't have to experience other things. Experience only means drinking. Experience only means eating non-vegetarian food. It is not so. We have Manisha and Bharath. I know both of them personally. And both of them are as experimentative, as welcoming of change, as welcoming of experiences as they can come. Especially, see, Bharath travels, and having Ethiopian vegetarian cuisine, you would never associate with that. So, the operative word here is having an open mind to things. I think that's what I thought. So, yeah, sorry, Umang, please go ahead.
Yeah, so my question was related to this only. What made you feel at school that, the school was allowing you to be not conservative, but being open? Any one particular circumstance or instances that you can share?
How a teacher responds when you ask a question.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
That's for me the best way to look at it.
The last two questions based on leadership. I personally felt like putting it forward. Being a new leader, I feel that number 3, this question should be there. So as a new leader, what were the challenges that you faced in initial stages of being a leader?
Yeah, Bharath, this question comes because Umang is a very young man. He's 32, I guess. And the principal. So sometimes, we tend to think that we'll be a leader only when we have no hair or gray hair. Or else we're this or we're that, we have mistaken notions. Well, Christ died at 29. He was a world leader. So, but I think the question comes from Umang. Maybe sometimes he feels he's not cut out to be the leader. Only because he's not the principal of the one. So he's a new principal. Yeah, so please answer.
This was more like to be personally.
Yeah. No, but I have empathy with you. And I got my first large leadership assignment when I was 33. So that was at DSM. So I fully empathize with you. And the first thing I learned was it's It's okay not to have the answers. The second thing I learned was you got it because who you are, not because who you have to be. So don't change. Be who you are. Be who you are with more skill. So don't be, I mean, if you have bad habits, please get rid of it. Be who you are with more skill. I think that's the best way to look at it. So don't put pressure on yourself to change. Don't put pressure on yourself because you have a title. Don't put pressure on yourself because you have a role. Be who you are. You got the role because of who you are, not because something else. And just do it with more skill, right? You learn as you go along. Open mind, and this is fine. That would be my response to that question. And just one hygiene factor, I have to exit around 12:27. I have a call at 12:30. I'm sorry, but I had to plan for that one. So I've got another 5 minutes. I'm sorry for that. And of course, more than happy to engage in the future also.
Okay, so we'll make it quick. Sakshi, your question, please.
Good morning, sir. Good afternoon, sir. So my question is from Bharath, sir. Like every person has highs and lows in their life. So like how do Bharath sir deal with his lows? Like whenever he feels low, there must be some moments. Like what keeps him motivated? And from initial phase of life till like he's so successful in like in present time. So what keep him motivated, and from where he derive his source of motivation? So that's my question to sir.
I'm going through a very tough phase in business right now, for example. I mean, we are struggling in business right now. And so for me, there is no magic answer to that. I mean, it's again being real to the situation. There are two things that I have learned the hard way. One is don't equate the situation with yourself. You did bad doesn't mean you are bad. You didn't get results doesn't mean you are bad. So there is the person and then there is the outcome. When we start putting the two together, we create problems. Because then either when you do well, you think you're God. When you do bad, you think your life is lost. So this ability to distinguish between the person and the outcome is very important. The second is don't extrapolate today to tomorrow. Things are good today doesn't mean they will be good tomorrow. Things are good tomorrow doesn't mean they will be good, the day after, and vice versa, right? I'd like to get philosophical and say this is what the Gita talks about. They do your duty, right? But it's difficult. I mean, that's for saints. You and I can't. At least I can't. I don't know about you, but I can't. I can't be so detached from the results. But the only thing I've learned is to detach yourself from the outcome in terms of your personality. You delivered bad results doesn't mean you're a bad person. Bad things happen today doesn't mean they will happen tomorrow. As long as we keep reminding ourselves of these two things, we should be able to deal with the curves that life throws at us. The last part I want to say is a very powerful report that I read on a book about happiness. And this is not philosophical or spiritual. This was a neuroscientist who wrote a book on happiness and how people discover happiness. And she said a very powerful thing. She said, happy people are not defined by what happens to them. They are defined by how they react to what happens to them. So it's a myth to say happy people, only good things have happened to them. All of us have the same level of good and bad things that happen in life. But it's how we deal with it. And that's again, going back to these two things. Don't confuse the person with the outcome. Always don't extrapolate today to tomorrow. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of energy, but it's worth it.
Okay, sir, I have a quick question for you. So as you are an avid reader, so would you like to suggest us some books to read?
So it depends on what you like to read, right? I like to read a lot about, it's a dry topic. I read a lot about psychology, human psychology. And I read a lot about human psychology and how human psychology plays a role in lives. And it's very useful for me at home, at work, everywhere. So I'm currently reading a book. If you give me 1 second, I'll show it. Just give me 1 second. So this is the book I'm reading right now. It's called Be Who You Want to Be. It's by Christian Jarrett, is the name of the gentleman. Can you see it? Or it's blurred?
You want. Yeah.
So it's a bit of a dry book. I mean, I like to read it. It's a bit of a dry. It's not very cool to read, but it's got a lot of good stuff about how you rewire your brain yourself, right? And this is based on science, so it's unlocking the science of personality change. Fantastic book.
Thank
There are
you.
many such books, and I'll one day send a screenshot of my Kindle to Pankaj and he can share it. Just multiple books.
Yeah, I'll share it with them. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Fena?
So, good afternoon, sir.
Hi.
We were talking about the leadership earlier. As you are a CEO of a company and you work with many people, what kind of leadership you would like to prefer, democratic or autocratic?
Democratic. Goes back to what I said earlier. No one has all the answers. Please don't fall into this myth that there is a person in a white horse riding to save us all. It doesn't happen in real life. We save us. No one else can save us. You have to be participative. Don't outsource your wellness into someone else's hands. Don't do that.
So Bharath,
Always
Bharath, you do recap what Saloni's question was. Saloni, do you remember?
Yeah, I'm going to say that now as my message as I finish this wonderful interaction, and I really appreciate it. Sorry that I had to butt out. I would love to have another 40, but one of the board members has a call with me at 12:30 and I have to take that. So this is the story about change, right? And this is so there is this big beach where there are hundreds and thousands of starfish. You know what are starfish? Starfish, which have been beached. So because of low tide, the starfish are on the sand and they're struggling to live because starfish cannot live on the sand. So there are thousands of them on the beach. So there are two people, young people like yourselves, who are sitting and watching this in the beach, and they are saying, "Oh, poor starfish, they're all there and they're dying and what to do and low tide." And they find this old man, right? Must be 75, 80-year-old man, who's walking along the beach, taking a starfish, he's throwing it into the ocean. Walks one step more, takes another starfish, he throws it in the ocean. And he keeps doing that, right? They watch him do it for 4, 5 starfish. And then they go to him and they say, "What are you doing?" He says, "No, I'm throwing starfish back into the ocean so they can live." And so then they say, "But old man, there are thousands of them on this beach. Do you really think that you're going to be able to make a difference to them?" So then he picks up a starfish, he throws it back into the ocean, and he looks at them and he says, "But I made a difference to that one." So the most powerful thing about change is don't put the world's weight on your shoulders. Your job is to change the immediate environment that you are in. Your job is to influence that student, those group of students. It's not to change the world. Change happens when you focus on that, the rest follows. It's a chain reaction. So the starfish analogy is very, very important for people struggling with change. Because what we try to do is we say we have to change the world. We don't have to change the world. We have to change the environment in which we operate. The rest happens. So I have to exit now because this gentleman is very picky on time. So I really appreciate and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best. You're doing God's work. And I hope you do a wonderful set of students and citizens for the future from Plenum.
Thank you so very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
A pleasure.
Great pleasure to
One round of clap to Bharath.